everything of the Sauerbraten is connected with my grandmother, I think. For me, I can't put it apart with the emotions.
One of Nils Steiger's core childhood memories is his grandmother making him Sauerbraten. It's a traditional German dish, basically a pot roast made with beef, marinated in vinegar and spices. And the name literally translates as sour roast because of its tangy taste.
Like, my grandmother always asked me when I visited her, what do you want to eat? And there was never a moment I didn't say Sauerbraten. So, like, I just ate it every single time I went there.
After all those years of his grandmother lovingly making him Sauerbraten, Nils, who runs a gym, recently decided to return the favour when she visited him in Dresden, a city in East Germany known for its restored Baroque buildings.
And I did the Sauerbraten, and she said, "Oh, is it really not meat?" And my wife was sitting on the table, and we just smiled at each other and was like, yeah, that's cool.
But why was fitness-mad Nils Steiger, a man who says he once
ate like a ton of meat, like too much meat at all?
Why was he cooking a vegan Sauerbraten for his definitely not vegan grandmother? And why did his shift from powerlifting meat maniac to gym-going vegan butcher bother certain people so much that they sent death threats? I'm Neil King, and this week on Living Planet we're talking protein and all the strange places it's suddenly turning up. If you've been to a grocery store or even glanced at the internet lately, you've probably noticed something weird. Protein is everywhere. Cottage cheese that used to brag about being low-fat now screams high in protein. Entire store aisles are now devoted to high-protein products and supplements galore. And it seems we are not getting enough of the stuff either.
Here are 5 signs you're not getting enough protein in your diet.
I can't hit my protein!
Here are 5 signs that you are low in protein. Number 1, your hair falls...
Or we're getting it from the wrong source.
Plant-based proteins simply don't work as well as animal protein.
But there will never be a vegan protein source that surpasses that of an animal one.
So today we're breaking down the protein boom, how much we actually need, what the science says about animal versus plant sources, and why the answer matters far beyond our plates. And to understand how we got here, we're starting with someone who grew up inside this protein-obsessed culture, Nils Steiger, and how his personal journey mirrors a global shift.
I started when I was 14, because it was the earliest possible age I could go to the gym. I think it was the time the sports industry started, like with all the social media and stuff, like 2012. So there was like the first hype of gyms and health.
Okay, quick time travel back to the early 2010s. That dim, distant era before there was a gym on every corner and before every second video on social media was someone shouting about gains. Facebook ruled the world back then. Instagram had just been born and both were mostly places for badly filtered photos. Around that time, gym culture really took off, helped along by a whole new wave of impossibly toned fitness influencers online. So Nils gets sucked into the gym scene. He's in school and he has a lot of time to go lift weights every day. But he's also competitive.
So I thought for myself, okay, I'm doing it just for me, but how can I do something where I can measure myself with others?
He gets into competitive powerlifting. And if you've never seen powerlifting before, it's pretty straightforward and pretty intense. Athletes do 3 lifts: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. The whole goal is to move as much weight as humanly possible in each one. And Nils loves it.
But also when you do it competitive, there's a pressure, I guess, like to the point where you are very, so much under pressure when you don't get stronger every month and month. And because the stronger you are, the slower the progression gets.
And the key to building muscle and getting strong when working out, you guessed it, eating tons of protein. Nils is eating about 200 grams of protein a day at this point in his competitive career. That's about 7 ounces for our US listeners. And where is all that protein coming from? Not tofu or plants.
If you don't supplement, it's basically meat. Say like 300 to 500 grams every day. Like bare minimum. Yeah, like quite a lot. Just like typical gym diet, like pasta or rice and some vegetables and whatever meat you come by, but mostly chicken.
500 grams of meat is about 3 average-sized chicken fillets a day. Nils eats like this for about 10 years.
Because like the bubble, like the fitness and sports bubble, and is so close to that, and they have like their, I would say, own belief system. Like you need to eat meat to get muscles, you need to eat a lot of meat to be strong and everything around that. And of course, when you are young, you believe in that.
But then, when Nils was about 24, came a moment that changed everything. He witnessed something he simply couldn't look away from, and it reshaped his relationship with food and his career.
Yeah, it was just eye-opening and mind-blowing. And yeah, it was like, from now on, I can't do this anymore.
But we'll come back to the moment that changed Nils' life later in the episode, because now we're going to take a closer look at the protein craze. Protein is big business right now. We're talking a global, growing, multi-billion-dollar market. And it's reshaping our food system and the way we eat. One survey found around 44% of US consumers and over half of Gen Z and millennials are actively trying to crank up their protein intake. For most Americans, that means more meat and dairy. The US market for red meat is expected to grow to around $120 billion in 2025, while whey, once a waste product of cheesemaking, has become the go-to protein supplement. Our obsession with protein has deeper roots than you might think. In the mid-1800s, German scientist Justus von Liebig claimed protein was the fuel for muscle energy, and even flogged a supposedly high-protein syrupy beef extract. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and US dietary guidelines were saying working men needed about 110 grams a day. By the mid-20th century, some were concerned that many people, especially in low-income regions, weren't getting enough of the essential growth nutrient. So that sparked a lot of research, says Bettina Mittendorfer, a health professor of medicine and nutrition and exercise physiology at the University of Missouri.
The research focused a lot on the beneficial effects of protein, primarily because when the field got really interested in it, I think like 50, 60 years ago or so, we didn't have the same nutritional status that we have now.
The protein supplement industry took off around this time, though it mostly stayed in bodybuilding circles. But the big shift came with social media. Open TikTok or Instagram now and you're flooded with messages telling you to eat more protein, to get lean, get ripped, or just stay healthy.
How much protein should you eat per day to maximize muscle growth?
If you're trying to build a mass physique and get big muscles in the gym, you have to be eating a high-protein diet. It's not as high.
If you're trying to build muscle, these high-protein, delicious cheeseburger Hot Pockets make the perfect grab-and-go snack.
I personally think it's a food fad, right? We've gone through these phases, right, where fat was the evil. Then the carbs were the evil. It leaves very little, so it's like the next thing. Then what should you eat? If you can't eat fat, if you can't eat carbs, you need to eat protein.
Our craving for animal protein, beef, dairy and whey, comes with a big climate price. Apart from being a major contributor to the emissions driving climate change, livestock farming fuels deforestation and wipes out habitats. Raising cows, sheep and pigs also gobbles up far more land and water than growing plant proteins like beans and lentils. Plant proteins need a relatively small patch of land, under 10 square meters per kilo of protein. But beef from pasture-raised cows can take up over 2,000 square meters per kilo, according to one study. The Eat Lancet Commission, a group of leading researchers, recommends a switch to what it calls the planetary health diet. It's a mostly plant-based flexitarian approach that boosts whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts and legumes, while sharply cutting red meat and sugar. The potential climate payoff is big, say the scientists. If widely adopted, the diet could cut global agricultural emissions of non-CO2 greenhouse gases like methane and nitrous oxide by about 15% by 2050. But the diet was attacked online by carnivore diet influencers like pro-meat doctor Sean Baker. Some claimed Eat Lancet wants to force everyone to become vegan, even though it actually recommends a flexitarian diet, and that a switch to the diet will harm people's health.
Currently, I am public enemy number one. Now, this is based upon the people that basically want us to eat bugs and soybean gruel for the rest of our lives. This is, the folks that are involved in what's called the Eat Lancet Commission.
But do the assertions about the superiority of animal protein in staying fit and healthy really bear out? We ask protein expert Bettina Mittendorfer to check some of the claims, so stay tuned for some myth-busting and to find out if you're getting enough quality protein. We'll be right back after this short break.
When headlines get louder, we go deeper.
Say hello to Berlin Briefing,
your guide to Germany's impact on the world. Between East and West, autocrats and democrats, Germany's whole system is under stress.
Pressure from all sides.
And the world around Germany is getting more dangerous.
Is democracy glitching? Too much noise? Too little clarity?
We decode what it means for you.
From Berlin to right where you are.
It's all in Berlin Briefing on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Before we carry on, just a reminder that you can share your questions or story with us. Just go to dw.com/livingplanet if you have anything relating to protein or veganism that you'd like to share with us. It's super easy, just a couple of clicks, and you record it on your smartphone. Back to Bettina now. Bettina's work zeroes in on how protein actually functions in the body. So when she's asked that classic sound level check question from radio hosts and podcasters, what did you have for breakfast? Her answer might seem a little unexpected.
Oh, today, actually, I had cinnamon raisin toast.
No obvious protein there, right?
No protein. I had a cappuccino. There's protein in there. And it's actually the bread, cinnamon raisin bread does have protein too. Just it's not a obvious protein source.
And that's one of the misconceptions about protein. Almost everything we eat contains at least some. It's just that some foods pack much more of it than others. And quick flashback to school biology before we bust any myths. Protein isn't optional. It's essential because it delivers the amino acids our bodies need to build and repair, well, us.
This is critical because essential amino acids, like essential vitamins, are those that the body cannot make themselves. So we entirely rely on our nutrition intake to get those.
When kids, for instance, don't get enough of certain amino acids, their growth can stall. That's how fundamental protein is. All of our lean body mass depends on it. Our organs, our muscles, even the cells that power our immune system, they're all built from protein.
As I said, essential, absolutely. There's a certain amount that we need to consume in the diet to make sure that we have a normal functioning body and body size.
This brings us to claim number 1. Most people are getting too little protein. So what does Bettina have to say on that?
There's just no sign or data really to support that the majority of the population has insufficient protein intake. It just isn't right, I think. And that, I think, is at the core of the whole craze.
The average lean person needs around 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day to maintain healthy functioning. For a person weighing 68 kilograms, or about 150 pounds, that's about 54 grams of protein, which is about 8 large eggs.
This is sufficient for 97.5% of the population. So this estimate has a little bit of a cushion already. The real true mean requirement for the average would be lower than that, 0.6 grams per kg per day. But that is, of course, there's inter-individual variability. There are people who need more during certain conditions.
But if 8 eggs sounds like a lot to you, does to me, most of us in the West are actually overdoing it on food in general, Bettina says. We're already getting plenty of protein, usually around 1.1 grams per kilo of body weight, without even trying. Now, of course, there are a few caveats. If your diet is basically sugary drinks and beige food, you might need a supplement. And some studies indicate a percentage of older adults may not be getting enough protein either. And then, if you're active, exercising a lot in the gym and trying to build muscle, adding more protein will help aid that, as well as tissue repair. Everyone is a bit different, but evidence suggests aiming for around 1.4 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day is generally enough here. How much protein you eat and when depends on your goals.
Are you exercising to maintain health, or are you exercising for physical performance? The same thing is like if you want to maximize your muscle mass and strength, what you do in the gym and what you eat is going to be different, and it's exactly that nuance, right?
Just to recap, the claim that most of us are protein deficient has been well and truly busted. That brings us to claim number 2. More protein means more muscle. That's not entirely wrong, but again, there are some nuances.
And so I think this is, to me, really rather than focusing on one type of experiment or the results from that, and I think this is where the protein craze came from a lot too, is focusing really on those studies that show, amino acids are essential for building muscle. And that's true, and it's true for a certain amount. It's a dose response within a normal physiological range, but then it levels off, right? And so I think when you combine that, or when you...
Basically, results from lab experiments aren't going to translate perfectly to real life and can inflate expectations of how much extra protein will translate to measurable muscle growth. Studies show at a certain point piling on more protein just doesn't do you any favours. Bettina's research has found that for the average adult, around 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal, that's roughly 60 to 90 grams a day, is plenty to keep your body healthy. And it turns out you can have too much of a good thing, even protein. When conducting small human trials and mouse experiments, Bettina's team found that once protein creeps above about 22% of your daily calories, things can start heading in the wrong direction. We're talking a higher risk of atherosclerosis, basically the arteries hardening and narrowing, which is a major risk factor for heart attacks and strokes. There's also evidence that too much is linked to type 2 diabetes.
Just like with everything, you have to just be careful, right? Going over is just as risky as going under. And so I think with the protein particularly, it is such a critical component of our diet. It's necessary. We need to have enough. And so I think it's not that you have to choose, am I going to build enough muscle and get atherosclerosis, or do I prevent atherosclerosis but then have too little muscle? It's really that balance where it becomes only harmful when it's over that limit, because there is a capacity on the ability to build lean mass with amino acid or protein intake.
Bettina says more research is definitely needed on optimal amounts of protein for building muscle and on what is too much. But now on to claim number 3. Eating a lot of protein makes you fuller, so helps with weight loss.
Longer-term studies don't support that either. Part of it is compliance, of course, too.
Short-term studies find that protein can make you feel fuller. But when you look at long-term research, that effect doesn't reliably lead to eating less or losing more weight. Partly because high-protein diets are hard to stick with, Bettina says some of the nuances are lost. When you cut calories to lose weight, you actually need a higher percentage of protein just to maintain basic nutritional needs. Not because protein speeds weight loss necessarily, but because eating less food can push you into protein deficiency if you're not careful. It's easier to cut out non-essential fats without risking nutrition.
And then it's very easy to convey the message too, right? That protein is lean. It's like the lean meat, and we all strive to be lean. And so it's a little faulty, the thinking, of course, right?
And now to the 4th and final claim. Animal protein beats plant protein.
you don't really need to eat animal proteins, but you have to make sure that you have a good balance and a variety in your diet, right? And this is very well known oftentimes where corn and beans are a classic sort of combination in some societies that eat it because together they provide the right portfolio of amino acids, or, one provides what the other one doesn't have a whole lot in.
Really, it's the variety that's important, because some plant proteins are missing small amounts of key amino acids. Mixing foods like beans and grains over the course of the day ensures your body gets the full set it needs to build protein. While more research is needed, studies show no major difference between an omnivore diet and a vegan diet when it comes to building muscle or gaining strength. Your body just breaks protein down into amino acids and rebuilds what it needs. It doesn't matter whether it came from a cow or a bean. Okay, if you have any other myths you'd like us to look into, or any other questions or stories relating to protein you'd like to share with us, just send us a voice message. All you need is your smartphone, and you go to dw.com/livingplanet and hit record. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so what should we be eating then? Back to Bettina.
Mediterranean type diet or so, right? Plants, heavy on plants and everything. It doesn't have to be that extra piece of chicken, right? Like it's again, the classic sort of deck of cart size meat type protein or so is sufficient.
The Mediterranean diet focuses on plants, keeps red and processed meats to a minimum, and includes fish and poultry in moderation. And in many ways, it mirrors the Eat Lancet planetary health diet, a way of eating that researchers say supports both human health and the health of the planet. But for Nils Steiger, back in his competitive powerlifting days, that kind of plant-forward eating wasn't even on his radar. He was convinced that real strength came from consuming meat.
You do it because whatever it takes, and then you don't ask like, is it right or wrong? Everyone does it. You do it as well, and then just when you ask the right questions, then you open your eyes and are like, oh, there's another way. You just need. It's not this way. There are like a lot of ways.
His turning point came out of nowhere. The day his wife put on a documentary.
A system of rotating cages lowers the fully conscious pigs 2 or 3 at a time into the heavily concentrated gas.
It was about animal agriculture and factory farming. He was shocked by what he saw.
I think we ignore the fact how animals are treated when we go to the supermarket. We just see the products and don't visualize what is happening behind every product. And just seeing the images in slaughterhouses and animal agriculture and everything around that, and I couldn't see it. So I became vegan, and that's 6 years ago.
Nils remembers the moment clearly, like a switch flipping.
It was like a black and white moment. Like one day I ate meat, and then the other quit everything.
Having been such an avid meat eater, his switch to veganism caused
mostly confusion. So why are you doing it? And then when do you quit it again? So people thought it's just a 1, 2, 3 month thing, and then I'll quit again.
And one guy from his gym community, well, let's just say he took it personally.
Yeah, it's like just the reaction of, now you eat less meat, so I'll go eat more meat. And for every tofu you eat, I'm going to eat one more steak, and like the typical going full force into the other direction.
Over time, though, even the staunch meat lovers around him softened a bit. Still, Nils had to relearn almost everything about how he shopped and cooked.
So at first, to be brutally honest, I just had a lot of supplements just to get the protein in, and like a lot of protein shakes and a lot of protein bars and everything. And then I started thinking about, okay, what can I eat actually? It made going shopping much more easier because you just basically ignore 80% of every supermarket. You don't need to look at everything anymore. You just go by the cheese aisle, and you just go by the everything with meat, and you just go by basically 80% of everything. And then you concentrate on things you can eat and relearn cooking, I think. Like, what can I mix with each other? And like, never before I looked so much into new recipes and everything. So it was quite a fun way, and a thing.
And even though he no longer eats it, he still misses the taste of meat, especially his grandmother's Sauerbraten. Trying to recreate it without animal products ended up setting him on an entirely new path to launching a vegan butcher shop and food company.
So at first, it just should be a hobby. At the beginning, I never thought about having like the business the size we have right now. I just wanted to make products and produce products I myself like to eat. And I tend to like the traditional kind of tastes. Oh, it's like walkie-talkie behind us. We have a walkie-talkie in our production. Like, every room has a walkie-talkie, so if you are in the kitchen and downstairs, for example, and you want to speak with someone at logistic, you can just walkie-talkie there. At the beginning, we had like code names and everything with it, and I told everyone they need to say over. But then we realized it's making things harder.
The Friends Not Food office and production kitchen sit tucked behind an ordinary residential building in Dresden. It's just before Christmas, a busy time for the company as orders roll in for Sauerbraten, vegan cheeses and traditional German festive treats like Stollen, a kind of sweet bread.
So we need to go through a cellar. It's a little labyrinth here. We travel through cellars, which is the fastest way to the production.
Inside the busy kitchen in the building's cellar, the team is turning soy, pea and gluten proteins into sausages, burgers, Leberkäse, Döner meat, goulash, gravies, all the comfort foods he grew up with.
Yeah, so it's like on the left side we see Radovan. He does our Braten sauce. He's vacuuming in it. And then there's Marcelo, who is preparing our kebab.
The products are sold online and stocked in 7 vegane Fleischereien, vegan butcher shops across Germany. The first opened in Dresden in 2023. Nils says he wasn't expecting it to grow so quickly. He and his team initially joked they would just play table tennis in the commercial space they rented if it didn't work out.
Yeah, the scale of it was surprising, and also the feedback was very surprising. Like, people, it felt like people were just waiting on it. So yeah, it was the right time and the right place.
The warm reception mirrors a bigger food trend. Plant-based products and protein powders have been booming over the past few years. But not everyone welcomed Nils's vegan butcher idea with open arms.
So, of course, in the beginning, people were like, why do they name themselves vegan, as a vegane Fleischerei, which means like vegan butcher? Why can't they name themselves like the vegetable store?
The shops look like traditional butcheries. Tiled walls, a deli-style counter of various vegan meats and cheeses, and that alone triggered some strong reactions.
I mean, we had like everything from people wishing us dead, and we're like, we're gonna attack your store, and like, it was like quite a big dimension in it. But of course, nothing happened. But yeah.
And he didn't take the threats too seriously.
Because for me, they are like keyboard warriors. I wouldn't think someone would really step up and attack like a vegan butcher store. Why would you do that? Like, you can write that, but why would someone really do that? I mean, of course, people are crazy right now, but yeah, we never felt in danger.
And with time, the backlash faded. Nils thinks it was less about the food and more about what veganism represents in today's culture wars.
Veganism often is a synonym of leftist and woke and all the other things people are fighting with. And then they feel attacked and try to defend, even through there's no reason for defense. But yeah, essentially, like, I don't know if anybody is really or has such a hard time with broccoli steak, but they more feel attacked in their belief system. So that's why the reaction is such a harsh one, I think.
The fight over vegan food labels has gone all the way to Brussels. European Union lawmakers voted to ban words like burger and steak for plant-based versions, saying they're confusing shoppers. Nils says if that does eventually become law, his business will have to adapt. But in the meantime, he's even convinced his steak-loving gym friend to try some vegan meats.
He's saying like, it's not that bad and it's not, you can eat it. If I would die, I would eat it. So it's a little change.
Trust me, for a German, that is glowing praise. Nils still trains 6 days a week, every morning like clockwork, except on Sundays. And he gets about 150 grams of plant-based protein a day. Turns out he really loves tofu.
Like, since I started being vegan, I realized I don't even need meat. Like, still I'm strong, still I have a lot of muscles, and I don't need to eat it.
And while he doesn't expect everyone to go vegan, he hopes he can nudge people toward eating more plants.
It just comes down to being open-minded, I guess. And I feel taste is something we could all agree on. If something tastes good, it tastes good. Like, you can't argue with that. If you take a bite, it has a great texture and a great taste, why wouldn't you eat it?
This week's episode of Living Planet was produced and written by Jennifer Collins. It was edited and presented by me, Neil King. Our sound engineer was Ziad Sleiman. What did you think of this episode? Or maybe you have a specific question or story regarding protein you'd like to share with us. Just send us a voice message. Go to dw.com/livingplanet and hit record. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.